Okay, welcome back. Today, what we are going to do is take our existing schedule website and we're going to kind of flesh it out with the actual page HTML files, and then we're going to create them by just copying the existing page that we have here, renaming the files, and then editing the content within so you can see the differences. So just to review what we did in the previous lessons, this was done in class, not on a stream. We put an image up at the upper right hand corner. We put 3 down at the bottom. These are placeholders for individual images. Remember, there's supposed to be 4 images per page that are different, and then each page different images moving forward. There's a home page followed by a minimum of 8 pages. If you're in a club or a sport, you can add a separate page for that as well, but minimum everyone should have 9 pages, periods 1 through 8, including home. That's 9 pages. Okay, we're using Notepad++, and as you can see here, the code is tabbed so you can see what's nested inside. If I click title, the title pair highlight. If I click head, the head pair. So you want to click on the pair of tags to see if they actually show up. This is kind of just making sure your code is ready before moving forward. Now, image doesn't have a pair. Images stands alone. Same thing with break. Heading tags have a pair. Paragraph has a pair. Center, this is the new one that we centered using a legacy method, meaning an old method. We centered 3 images next to each other. As I explained in previous lessons, the code doesn't need to be under each other. They could be next to each other. It's not going to affect the way the code looks when it's being run in the browser. Sorry, we're going to go to Run in Chrome. As you can see here, now something caused it to not work. Let's find out. So if we take a look at the Notepad++, they're referencing example folder. So this was just in the previous lesson showing how we can kind of move things around in other folders. I've now removed that. So make sure you didn't take my sample code and build in an example folder unless you have one and you decide to organize it that way. So let's save this. Control S. Let's go over to our browser. There's what it was before. We refreshed it and it showed up as such. Let's reload it and they're back again. Okay. Now there's some spacing that was here before that went away. And there should not necessarily be any spacing because I did not supply it. Let's just see what happens. Let's do a little bit of experiment. This could have something to do with Chrome. Let's put this underneath. This should have absolutely no impact. Let's just run it in Chrome. And once again, as you see, there's no difference. So anyway, that's getting a little bit more into stylizing, and we're going to stylize this later with CSS. So for today, what I'm asking you to do is put them underneath each other, as you can see here, followed by a pair of center tags. Once again, this is encapsulated or wrapped up with a pair of HTML. And then inside the HTML, there's a body, and that's where everything that the user sees. Inside the head is a title, and that is appearing in the tab of your browser. So if we were to run this again in Chrome, bring it over, right here, Anthony Truss and his schedule in this tab is being pulled from here. If I wrote the word test, save, run in Chrome, you can see test and his schedule as opposed to Anthony Truss and his schedule. Now this is reading it from the previous edit. If I reload, you can see it changed right here. Okay, so if I come back to here, obviously I want to fix this. Control S, go to your Chrome, you can hit Control R, and you can see the change. I'm going to do it again. Watch. I'm going to hit Control R, and right here where my mouse is going to change to Anthony Truss. Okay? So we're ready to kind of populate. Now I want you to do some forward thinking. Okay, you already know the name of the home page. What's the name of the file? Think of it yourself right now. You should be thinking index.html. Can you think of a good name for a period 1 file? How about we could type period 1. That's a little bit more work than I want to do. How about p1.html? And let's do p2. p3. Now this is getting repetitive and more work than I want. I'm going to copy this. Paste, 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 paste. Okay, so we have 3. Let's go down. 4. I'm going to push the down arrow on the keyboard. 5, down, 6, 7, and so forth. I'm just going to call this club_sport. So we have index p1 through p8.html files, and then club_sport. If you don't think you're going to remember your file names when we go to duplicate and rename files, you may want to snip this. So I'm going to snip it. Grab our snipping tool, and we're just going to snip what we need. And just keep this floating around when we're making our files with the File Explorer. So let's go and do that. Let's go to File Explorer. We're in the Images folder of the root directory of our website. As you can see, Creative01 is the thing that holds our entire project. And we're in the Images folder. So we're going to back out 1. As you can see here, we are going to copy, Control-C. We can do Control-V. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We might need to delete one of these. So we're going to right click and rename it. We're going to work on period 1. Okay, so we have this. Just click it once, or you can right click and rename p1. If you just click it softly once and just let your mouse sit there, click it a second time and let it be patiently sit there, you'll see that you can rename. So p2. p3, p4, and so forth. This obviously takes a little bit of time. It's going to take you some time as well. But the nice part is the code is already done. We just need to edit the content that's inside. But the structure is built. This is a lot better than doing this from the ground up 9 different times. Okay, so we have p1 through 8, and we're going to call this club_sport. Now this is obviously for you if you have one. If you do not have a club or a sport, then you don't need it. Now I want to warn you, you just saw that I almost added an extension. They already have the extension, and the way that we are viewing our files is it's not showing the extension. You can feel confident because the original one had it. We duplicated it. You see that the Chrome application is what is default to open it. Now they're going to all look exactly the same, so there's really nothing in terms of visuals that we're going to see when we click them. However, it's going to work. So we're going to go over here, just make sure it's saved, because now we have all the files in place. We're going to go to Run, Chrome. Now you can see that these are no longer purple anymore. They're blue because your computer knows that it's never been to those before. If I click on P1, I'm on P1, as you can see right here. Now if I go to P2, something's going on. That's odd. I click on P1, but it brings me to here. Let's refresh and see what's going on. So it's all bringing me to just one page. So I'm going to look at the P1 file and see what's the matter with it. It should all be the same code. However, I have an idea of why this isn't working. When we duplicated this code, we didn't save this. So the changes to the files were actually not done when we duplicated it. So what happened is we edited the file, didn't save it, duplicated the file, which was its pre-saved state, and at this point, the old code, before we actually put in the file names, is what was duplicated. So nothing works except for the home page. So to be honest, that was a mistake. You'll make them as well. I'm going to actually just delete all of these, delete Club Sport, and just duplicate these again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we're going to rename Club Sport. I come over here, rename P8, P7, P6, P5, P4, P3, and I realize if you're following this video the way that I've prescribed, you're begrudgingly doing this a second time. You won't forget at this point, making sure that you save before you duplicate your files. Okay, even though you may have typed it and changed it here, if it's not saved before you copy your files, the code doesn't duplicate. Okay, so as we were saying, let's close this. This is our index, our home page. Let's refresh. Okay, P1, that's where we are. Now I'm on P1. I should be able to click P2, and I am on P2, and so forth. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Club Sport. Now we need to change the heading, right? Because the home page is the only time that it really should say Anthony Truss and his schedule, your name and your schedule. So we're going to click on P1. We're going to go to Notepad. We're also going to go to our File Explorer. We're just going to right click on our P1 in our File Explorer and say Open with Notepad++. Your computer will most likely have that. Mine's not associated. So I'm going to go the old route. Just do File, Open. I'm going to navigate over to My Drive, to the Creative One folder, to P1. I'm going to open all of them. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to select the first one, press Shift on the keyboard, select the last one, let go of Shift, and click Open. As you can see, all my files are here, with the exception of Club Sport. Maybe I didn't open that one. That was at the top. Okay, so period 1. We're going to go over to heading. We're going to type in, my period 1 is APCSP. So the class that I teach. Okay, that's period 1 for the heading. And I'm going to type this here, period 1 hyphen APCSP. That's the class that I teach. So I'm actually going to do this as well in terms of your content. Now you can leave periods 1 through 8 the way they are, or if you'd like, you can change the name of it to the class. This is by period, so it would make sense. If I click on the period, I then can find out what class you're in. That may be convenient in one way or the other. We can argue both directions. So that's period 1. File save. And I go to period 2. And I'm going to continue doing that. Okay, so my second period is planning, and that's what I'm doing right now. Planning period. All right, and I'm going to come over to here to change the title. Period 2. Planning. Okay. Obviously, we have body content we can change, but we're going to just do this top stuff first. Save, and so forth. Same thing. Period 3 is game and web. Period 3. Game and web. I'm going to leave design off because remember this is going in a tab. Tabs are small. Control S. Go back here and make sure I save this. Control S. Control S. And so forth. So let's just do a preview. I'm only going up to the 3rd page in this video because of the time. You don't need to watch me do this. It's the same. Let's go to Chrome. Homepage. Right? You want to check your file name here. Period 1. APCSP. Maybe it should say period 1 APCSP. Let's go to period 2. Planning period. Period 3. Game and web. So I can kind of bounce back and forth between these. Right? Even I can go down to club and sport, even though it says this because I haven't changed it yet, I can still bounce. So every single page is hyperlinked to itself in a convenient, repetitive, easy to find location in a what they call a link-based menu. So I want you to finish the names of the H1s for the titles, headings of all your pages. At that point, I want you to swap out the content. So instead of on period 1, APCSP, it would say about computer science principles, and then a statement about the class. Okay? And then obviously about this site is no longer needed because you just have about the class, about the site is gone. You're going to replace the images with images specific to the class and move forward. At this point, you should have images in your images folder. I have 2. You should have obviously 33. At this point, finish this up and then we'll conduct possibly the next evolution of this. But what I'm looking for is you to make the pages, change the descriptions, the titles, the tags within, change the content of the images, provide descriptions, and then at that point we will move forward.